Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. I'm Alora Murray.
And I'm Kami Stroot.
And this is going to be, I'm so excited about this podcast because I know you're new to Utah, Kami, but we have so many entrepreneurs here in this state. It's actually quite amazing.
That's why I moved here. Duh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I was like, from what you've told us, I thought it was nature. So now she's changing her mind.
Yeah, I'm here for business, baby. No, some of my favorite companies actually are here in Salt Lake, and I had no idea.
Isn't it crazy?
Yes.
And I think, there's just this kind of work ethic, and we really do have so many hard workers here, so many great companies. And actually, this podcast, and I'm not going to tell all about it because I want you guys to listen to the podcast. We're going to be talking about this new government initiative to help people start businesses because, like I said, we have so many out there, and sometimes I'll bump into someone and they have a dream to do that, to start a business, but they don't know how.
And I'm going to be listening to this because I'm serious that there are so many business ideas that we all have, I think, and it's really wonderful to live in a place that supports that and getting able to just get your start.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes when you have a dream to start a business, you just need a little bit of support. And I think this new government initiative can help so many of those people. What do you say we take a listen?
Let's do it.
I am so excited to talk to today's guest. Brad, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. I sincerely appreciate this.
Of course. Okay, Brad, let's just start with this. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I am an entrepreneur. I live here in Draper, Utah. I started a company when I was in college called Walker Edison, and it became one of the leading providers of home furnishings on the internet. So it was a pure play e-com business, and it went through a lot of struggles. Obviously, as many entrepreneurs do, but we had a really fun ride for 15 years before I sold it and retired. And I'm married with 4 kids. Continue to invest into Utah's startup scene. I've taught entrepreneurship at the college level for many years. I'm so enthusiastic about what we have here in Utah, like kind of our magic recipe to help entrepreneurs succeed and thrive. And that's kind of what I'm doing now.
It's so true. The magic here. There are so many people that start companies and are so successful, and these entrepreneurs just, from Utah. So it's really fun to see and to support. What is the Startup State Initiative?
So the Startup State Initiative is Utah's effort to supercharge our entrepreneurial ecosystem. I was appointed by Governor Herbert to sit on the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity Board, the GOYO board. And I got to see firsthand kind of the positive impact that government can have on business. And so, when Governor Cox found out I had kind of left my role as CEO of my company, he reached out and he said, Brad, I've had this idea for some time. Utah is a tremendous place to start a business, but I want it to be known as the startup capital of the world. and how can we do that? And so that's what we've dedicated the last 15 months to doing. That's the Startup State Initiative.
Yeah, and how important is it to entrepreneurs that we have this assistance?
What I did, and this is why I think it's so important. I actually went around the state and I held, I think, 15 or 16 roundtables. I had entrepreneurs from, startup mode, I'm a cosmetologist, or I'm a sole proprietor CPA, all the way up to multi-billion-dollar enterprise kind of CEOs. And I said, hey, I think we've got it a little bit confused in our minds as citizens here in Utah, where we go to work and we pay taxes to support the government. I really, truly believe government is and should be here to support us and not the other way around. And so I said, what can government do for you? And so there were some things that stood out really quickly. Did you know, for example, that in order to get all the information you need, you have to go to like 9 different government websites? Like that
Wow.
was like, how do I do this? Like how do I navigate this? And then in some instances, I even talked to some of the people that were running the websites and we couldn't find the right information. So if you're kind of, you don't have the means to hire an attorney or some sort of consultant to help you navigate like the business registration process, I thought, how do we centralize this one source of truth, right? Like, how do we hold our entrepreneurial friends' hands as we go through the process? And so we came up with this idea and we are launching startup.utah.gov. And that is the result of these many conversations with entrepreneurs across the state.
Okay, tell us about startup.utah.gov and what people will find.
So startup.utah.gov is this comprehensive resource that we have been working on behind the scenes at GoYo. So basically, if you have an idea and you don't know where to go, or you don't know how to put it on paper, we will take the person that doesn't know how to do any of this, and we will hold their hand through the entire process. We also have the ability to help people who perhaps are more sophisticated or who have done this before. So we wanted to make sure that this website kind of handled any and all needs for people that were looking to start their business.
Got it. Even if they have experience or, someone who is just starting, it's kind of for anyone and everyone.
It's like for everybody and everyone. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Why do you think, Brad, that Utah is so great for startups, small businesses, and entrepreneurs, in your opinion?
Well, I think this, like Utah has been ranked many times and once again as the best place to start a business. So in my defense, hopefully we never lose that ranking because, the only place we have to go, I guess, is down because we're always number one to start a business. And I love that about Utah. First and foremost, though, the reason why Utah is so great is our people. We have absolutely incredible talent, incredible humans here in Utah. We have a young and a growing workforce. We're the fastest in the nation, actually. We have regulation that actually makes sense. We have legislators that look at this regulation and say, hey, we want to make sure people are safe. But for example, AI, artificial intelligence, has come on so quickly. Some of the legislation that's been written over the years, and some of this is like 30, 40 years old, is actually impeding our ability to use it properly and safely. And so since we're so focused on this entrepreneurial startup ecosystem, it's very business friendly, and we look for opportunities to help either regulatorily or in any other way, really, to help these entrepreneurs get up and get going and not stand in their way. I would say two other things, that make us really great. Our access to capital. 15 years, we didn't have the kind of funding sources that we have now here in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
And you've seen them, right? Like they've kind of popped up all over the place as more and more founders have exited or had liquidity events. And it's this interesting nepotistic familiar circle where we want to support our own. And so access to capital has greatly improved over the last 10 years. And then even though our housing prices have gone up relative to other kind of tech heavy areas, we still have low operating costs like utilities. I know I saw an article last week where we have like the lowest power costs in the nation.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff leads to a really great quality of life.
Sure. Maybe it's all the big families and the kids in the families. It's competitive.
Yes.
They want to stand out. Why do you think the governor started this initiative?
So I have had a wonderful experience working with Governor Cox on these issues. He has been a champion for expanding economic opportunity here in Utah. And we have some strategic initiatives, from the governor's office. He's from Fairview, right? So he's a big fan of rural Utah, as we all are. But he's from there, and he's like, hey, I actually know the issues that impact, the locals in some of these places, and how do we help them the most without, kind of getting in the way of their quality of life. And so he's done a great job being a champion for expanding those opportunities. I also think even before Governor Cox and even before Governor Herbert, over the last couple of decades, we have been able to attract some pretty incredible businesses that have been anchors of our local economy. I've been able to see that firsthand as a member of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Take Adobe or eBay or Raytheon or just some of these incredible stalwart, and they have provided high-paying jobs for decades here in Utah, and they really laid the groundwork for what we're accomplishing now.
Sure. Okay, and Brad, what do you do as Utah's first entrepreneur in residence?
So I had heard that term before, but the entrepreneur in residence title, I didn't actually know what it did. And so crafting kind of our strategy around this, ultimately, I'm kind of figuring that as I go, right? Like, it's very entrepreneurial, by the way. This is like how entrepreneurs function. It's like, what do I do today? Oh, awesome. Here's my shining light. Here's my goal. We want to make Utah the startup state of the world. And so how do we get there? I think my very first focus, though, was listening to the market. So that's when I went around, talked to all the entrepreneurs, kind of gathered that consistent feedback. And then we reviewed that and prioritized it so that our focus was on those things that we were hearing about. And then we took those priorities, focused in on them for the deliverables for the Startup State Initiative. And, with this launch, I'm spending my time kind of traveling across the state, meeting with entrepreneurs. I've met, by the way, with pretty much, I think, every higher ed institution in the state.
Wow.
Because they are doing incredible things, like sowing the seeds of the next generation of entrepreneurs. It is happening, and it is happening like en masse here in Utah. It's so fun to watch.
Oh, that's so good to know and to get your opinion on that. Why do you think innovators should start a business in Utah?
Well, one, I just think Utah is the place, right? Like as a kid, my parents moved us to San Jose, California, and I moved back when I was a teenager. And I have had offices all over the world. I've traveled all over the world, and there are certainly some really great and pretty places. But Utah has something special. It has something that no other place has. And it's this feel of community. It's this entrepreneurial bootstrap.
There's an energy, right? There's an energy.
Totally. And here's one of the things that I love the most about Utah. In other places that I've experienced, many of the CEOs or entrepreneurs that have become very successful stay pretty closed. Here you can find business leaders who are willing to help budding entrepreneurs. And I would say one of my very favorite things is watching how much everyone loves to see other people succeed.
Yeah.
I just think it's like this magical environment that we find ourselves in. Like last night, I presented to a group of 200 entrepreneurs. We shared ideas, we talked through strategies, we analyzed everything. It was all free advice. We were all networking together because it was like, hey, we want to lift each other. So we are certainly competitors. We want to win, but we also like seeing each other win.
Right. We are really good at cheering each other on here in Utah. I agree with you. We absolutely are. Brad, what are some of your tips or best suggestions for people who are thinking, you know what, I want to start a business right here in Utah?
I'm an investor in over 50 businesses now. We still own and run a couple of our own businesses. I can tell you, I've seen a few things that people do that have a tendency to trip some people up. And so some of those tips that I always tell people, you have to partner with the right people. And I kind of compare it to a marriage. In fact, my business partner and I spent more time together than I did with my amazing wife. And given that businesses fail at a pretty high rate over 5 years, you have to partner with the right person. It's almost like going into a marriage, right? You also have to be really smart about funding your venture. I think far too many entrepreneurs sell off way too much of their business in the beginning out of fear for not having enough cash. I like to see entrepreneurs that are scrappy, that think outside the box. It's like, okay, we want to accomplish this goal. We don't have enough cash. How do we get it done? And I love funding those entrepreneurs because it tells me that they are very careful with the dollars and cents in their business. My business, by the way, we pivoted at a certain point in time into data. And so you knew that if you were in my business, you couldn't walk into a room without me asking, what does the data say? And so I think the most successful businesses that I see, and when I give tips to people starting a business here in Utah, is understand what the data is telling you. Don't guess. So guessing can get you, I guess, to a certain place. Data will help you scale. And then lastly, I'd probably say the most successful businesses, and you can look at Vivint or Overstock or Ancestry, they are robust sales machines. If you don't know how to sell your product, even if it's the world's greatest product, your product is not worth anything. And so dedicate a fair amount of your time figuring out who your customer is, identifying those people, and then going after them tenaciously. They are the lifeblood of your business. If you don't know how to sell your product or service, you will not survive.
Okay. That's really good advice, Brad. Thank you. Why do you think Utah economically is a good place to start a business?
So I think that's a really good question, by the way. I think, Utah's entrepreneurship environment, it exists because many of those who have made it are really willing to give back. They generously mentor, they present to groups, they invest, by the way, in these businesses, they provide advice. Silicon Slopes, when we look at that, the amount of people that have gone or left from one business and started up like the next unicorn, we're just kind of breeding success as we go along. We have a lot of incredible resources here as well. We have a lot of people, both from higher ed and the government and the private business side, that are working tirelessly every day to help our entrepreneurs succeed. And that's why we're including so many of those resources in startup.utah.gov.
Sure. Brad, what area do you see mostly businesses growing? You see it in tech, or what are you seeing it in?
Tech's interesting right now. I think some of the tech businesses that raised a whole bunch of money that didn't have a clear line of sight to profitability are kind of paying the piper right now. We've read about some of the layoffs that have happened, but we have targeted industries in our state. And because we have targeted those industries, our economy is really robust and diverse. So certainly tech, still has a lot of upside. We continue to attract some really amazing tech firms and tech growth here in Utah. But we also have a robust aerospace program. We have a lot of consumer products businesses like mine. I just here in Draper, like Kizik's, have you seen those cool shoes that slide on and off your feet?
Absolutely. I have. Yes. Everyone. Yeah. You see it everywhere. Billboards. Everyone's talking about it on social. Yeah. They
are slaying it. And I've met those guys and they're awesome. And they're right here. They're 10 blocks from my house, so there is a lot of opportunity. And I think the great equalizer, honestly, and we learned this through COVID, it doesn't matter now really where you live. You have access to resources through the internet, and you can work remotely in many situations, and you can reach out to clients remotely. You can live in Kanab and run a robust and large business, largely from the comfort of your home. And so I think, that's allowed a lot of us to sit down, stop, think about our lifestyle and say, hey, where do we actually want to live and where do we want to raise our family? But we don't have to leave, the benefits of starting, running, and supporting a business.
Right. Yeah. So true. So much opportunity out there. You're right. And so much has changed just thinking about what we have and the opportunities that are given now. To wrap up, Utah's entrepreneurial community is so unique and special, like we were saying. And, I feel your energy and I feel your passion for this. And it's a great place to start a business.
It really is. I am, this is one of those projects that I wake up every single day and I am so excited to talk to my next entrepreneur because there is so much energy, like this room full of entrepreneurs last night, 200 budding entrepreneurs. And I swear they're going to solve the world's largest problems. It's like, how do I get there? And so, I love being a part of this group and a part of the system. And I'm very thankful to Governor Cox for giving me this opportunity.
So cool. So cool. And if someone is listening thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a go. Is the first step just heading to startup.gov or startup.utah.gov or what's your advice for the first step?
So startup.utah.gov is a great place to go, a great resource. Now, I will caveat that we are in beta and we officially launch it at the One Utah Summit in a month. So we're still kind of debugging it. This is a brand new, startup website, startup.utah.gov, though we'll have those resources that entrepreneurs will need. And by the way, if it doesn't have something that you think it should, please reach out to us. We want to make sure this is a comprehensive resource for our entrepreneurs here in the state.
Oh, amazing. Okay. And reach out to you. It's the same place?
Yes.
Okay. Give us the website one more time, Brad.
It's startup.utah.gov.
All right. Congrats on everything. Thank you so much for the information today.
Of course.
This was a great podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you, Brad. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And thank you for listening to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And we will see you next week. Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.